everybody, this is Anne. Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips Live, or whatever we're calling this show these days. Happy Monday? I don't know. I had zombie spiders chasing you nightmares last night, so that was fun. So it's a Monday. It's a Monday. And David has the day off to add insults to injury. So he's sitting across playing computer games while I have to work. Not fair. Not fair. We're actually on time today. Yes, I know. I find it like it's very funny because David gets up like on a day off. He gets up significantly earlier than like he gets up during work days. So he got out of bed early, which meant that I got out of bed early because, you know, I need to like get my stuff done. And yeah, so sleepy and like I said, you know, spider zombie nightmares. It's fun. I don't know about you guys, but I have, since I was a small child, I have had dreams where tons of people are trying to kill me. Or tons of monsters, or tons of zombies, or tons of something. Like, an entire town. I remember one dream, I think I was maybe 9, where my entire town turned against me and went to try to kill me. So, you know, this is just a dream that I've had since I was small. I don't know if I'm just weird, or if you guys have these too. So, yes. So they're always highly inventive and like, you know, movie-fied and all that, but still, really subconscious mind. So hi everybody. Yeah, it's a day. It's a day. We're gonna paint kitty cat. I guess from the silence in the chat. Oh, okay. So you got one. You had those, huh? Yeah. Okay. At least one person, other than me, has had the, you know, zombies out to murder you nightmare, or townspeople, or like I said last night it was spider zombies. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so your young, fertile imagination was being worked on by horror series. Interesting, Jedi Jarrett. Yeah, I always wonder where these things come from. Like, sometimes they do come from movies and media that we've consumed, right? I used to love to read The Hobbit when I was a kid because almost always, at least reliably, I would have like a really vivid like Hobbit type dream if I read it before bed. And I used to love those dreams, so I would try to like read it right before bed. But then you were looking at a little kid who like had read The Hobbit by the time we actually read it for reals in 6th grade, I think. 6th or 7th grade. I'd already read it 18 times, so I see. Yeah, I've had those too. Good morning, Inara. Yes, finding that the final's being held when you haven't been there all, yeah. And you're like, how did I miss all these months? That's funny. Alrighty. So, we've got a rogue. We started doing armor last time, but I think I want to work more on the fur today now that I've got colors kind of laid in, and I might lay down kind of block in the NMM as well so that we cover the entire surface at this point because I want to get the gray out of there. There comes a point on every mini where I want to get the gray out. Can't get it out of my hair, so I have to get it out of the model. Oh, that's too bad that it didn't recur to you. I had at least a few like Hobbit dreams. But apparently your subconscious mind didn't think it was important to imagine that you were a wizard. I always wonder, like, seriously, subconscious mind? What are you up to? Like, why can't you give us more awesome dreams? Instead, you seem to think our reality is full of horrors. I've always been able to remember dreams pretty well. I mean, it varies. I have to make an effort. Like, when I wake up, I'll remember them. But at that point, I have to actually make an effort to remember them. This was a really weird one, though. It was a kidnapping that turned into, like, a possession by zombie spiders. And it's probably an allegory for something. Considering that I knew the people in it. Like, it actually had, like, some of my friends in it. Alright, let's get in focus. In focus, we have a fuzzy kitty. Which, you know, fuzzy kitties and all are great, but fuzzy kitties are not awesome for The camera. Alright, we're going to just block in some gold with some rich leather. Anna's going to try to figure out where she forgot to tackle mold lines as this inevitably happens. That's okay, Kronika. We were just talking about weird dreams. Because I had a weird dream last night. I have a lot of the world wants to kill me dreams. Or I shouldn't say a lot, but I have more than most people, I think. Seems to be my sort of weird dream. David said he couldn't remember ever having such a dream, so... Ooh, neat! You used to dream that you were a centaur. That's awesome. I wish I had those dreams. I used to have a lot of flying dreams. More when I was younger. Those were always fun. I'm not sure where the entire town is trying to kill me dreams came from. Because it's not like I'm a super paranoid person in, like, real life. If anything, I could probably be, you know, a little bit more paranoid. But... we're just going to block in some rich leather, which is my NMM gold. Hey, Nemedzic, how's it going? Fur filled. You can, yeah, you've got all the fur that we used to have, Kerniko. I can get my virtual fur from you. Although we're still finding tumbleweeds. Although I did do a serious vacuuming this weekend, so the tumbleweeds have reduced, but they are still here. Waiting, hiding, under furniture I couldn't reach. Yes, yes. Happy Martin Luther King Day, for sure. David admonished me sternly this morning that I should remind you all. Happy Martin Luther King Day. How did they choose the day for Martin Luther King Day? Do any of you know? Like, was it like the day he was born? Was it a day where something big happened in his life? Was it one of those arbitrary holidays where they're like, we need a holiday honoring Martin Luther King Jr. Let's do it here. Yeah, that's why David has a day off. It's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and so he actually has the day off. Lucky, lucky David. So, blocking in this, making sure we cover up all the quote-unquote primer, or in this case just plastic, is a good move at this point. It's a good move at some point, just so that you can get a real idea of where the darks and lights are on your model and how your model's color composition is developing. Closest they could get to his actual birthday. All right, cool, Val. At least you knew. No, not a holiday everywhere. It is kind of an American thing. Some of our American holidays are pretty darn cool. You know, like Martin Luther King Day and National Bring Your Dog to Work Day. Or your pet to work day. I guess it's equal opportunity these days, depending on your workplace. Although David told me one of the coolest things about his workplace when I first got here was that they have a you can always bring your dog to work rule. Which is pretty awesome for a giant corporation, if I may say so. They even had an impromptu dog show on the lawn. Like, I think it was while we were still dating, while I was still in Texas. He sent me pictures. Yeah, not everybody has off on Martin Luther King Day. I mean, Reaper doesn't, obviously. That's why I'm here. Smaller companies usually can't afford to give their employees too many fully paid days off, depending on how they've structured. But often it is a luxury until you get a bit bigger and can afford to kind of factor that in a bit more. But it depends on who founded you and, yeah, what sort of company you are, too, right? His bakery was open this morning. He would have been sad if his bakery had the day off. Hello, Scrying Eye. Yeah, we went kind of, it's kind of almost foresty. She could be a ranger as well as easily as she could be a rogue, actually. With her name being Shadow Eyes, I kind of thought that. Kind of like leaf shadows, right? Shadows under the trees. So she, I mean, technically as a double sword build, she could still be it. They still do melee rangers, right? A la Drizzt. Text to speech, huh? Alrighty. So we've got most of this covered now. Oh, I need to get her little bracelet up here, which I still haven't decided if it's going to be a contrasting color and what it should be. I'm a little bit, I mean, I could make it purple. We ran into this before where we weren't sure exactly. Yeah, she could be a bunch of things. We weren't sure exactly what our accent colors are going to be because we gave her blue eyes and those are pretty vivid. But then we also gave her the purple dagger handle. And then I had mentioned maybe we could take those blue eyes and we could highlight the purple with blue, which would kind of bring it all in. So that's still an option to kind of pull those colors together. I hate using, if you're going to use an accent color on the figure, I'm a firm believer in using it more than one place. I really don't like isolated colors. We do need to get our gray out because we need to get these studs all brought up too. So cloudy gray, plus a little bit of blue probably. There, we've got that, we've got that. So now this is starting to come out. I do want to work on the fur a lot though because her feet are really rough and a lot of the fur in here. The thighs are good, but not on the back. And I want to touch up the face a little and do some stripes on the tail, things like that. So we're going to get to fur. Yeah, I don't know. Text-to-speech may have been a simple, may have been turned off by Reaper. I could see them not wanting sound bites to break in Chia when we're doing instruction. I think it would be pretty disruptive. When you're streaming on a video game, not so much, but if I'm like trying to make a point about like color theory or something and somebody pops up a lengthy text-to-speech, it really, I think it's really intrusive. So, I don't know. I assume that Reaper kind of decided not to enable it. It may pop up as an option to redeem, but I'm not sure. Justin, do you know? And John?
Yeah, I'm managing the rewards now. It is turned off. Let me see here. I actually don't know if I can refund points or not, but we were only playing with it in terms of John's stream, and that's plug in. I there's no plans to put it. It's really kind of buggy still. It didn't always read stuff out. The volume was kind of wonky.
Yeah.
There's a lot of better ways it could be executed, and so it's something you could see a return to. It's at the bare minimum, whenever John does a stream, we can play with stuff like that.
All right. It makes more sense for that sort of thing, I think, than for an instructional stream.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm doing here, guys, is I'm kind of trimming off these little sword ends so that we can have some more dynamism by destroying the fact that the swords are connected to the ground. So we can just carefully use our clippy tool and our knife to shave away some of this built-up plastic and give us more space. If you have a nice sharp knife, you can also just kind of gently trim up the tips on these sword blades so that they are sharp. I'm just trying to grab all the little plasticky threads. That's always the hardest part. And at this point, since the feet are only base coated, it doesn't matter if I ding them here and there. If there's some roughness on the blade itself or a mold line, now is the time to address that before you go base coating it all. And again, take off your little baby plastic threads that may want to stick to it. Most cats are multi-classed, yeah. That would not surprise me. Most dogs, I think, are single-classed. Kiri was definitely a rogue. Which reminds me, I need to, like, touch base with Jim at Dark Sword and see about getting a Kiri tribute figure.
There you go, Kia. I refunded your points.
Oh, good. Yay! Yay for points refund. That's good that you could do that, Justin. Good job. Applause.
Now, that being said, if you, if you're interested in at all, because it is kind of based on your style and what you want, if you ever want any fun stuff like TTS or GIFs or anything interesting like that, let me know. We can always put it in. For your show.
I think TTS. I really feel like TTS would be disruptive. Like, having experienced it on video game streamers' streams, I always felt that it was just kind of, it always like starts up right when you're trying to say something. So I'm not a fan of that, but as far as GIFs and stuff, I'm not sure how it all works. So I'd have to look. I'd have to understand the options. Problem.
If you see something and you like it and you're interested in some way, then just let me know.
Pardon me. I'm wrestling with a plastic nub. Trying to get through it without damaging the model. Sometimes you just have to go slow and get delicate with your knife tip and try not to damage the foot. There, and then you get a nice rewarding chunk of plastic off of there and a lot of plastic debris. Come off of there, plastic debris. So, want to liberate our blades a bit. There's a little bit of roughness back there that I still need to take off. You want to put hats on Anne. It costs 10k. It can't be spammed that easily. Yeah.
That's true. We did make the point cost on it expensive.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. I guess, you know, it makes sense to me to have it on a show, especially if like you've got a streamer who's actively playing games and can't watch chat. Then having the voice to text is cool because then it lets you actually say something that they will hear. But I don't know. I try to watch chat pretty well. I hope I do a good job. Let's see here. Arrgh.
I'm always more worried with TTS. It's less the spamming and the just the crap in the air. It's for me. It's more the I'm always afraid someone is going to put some sort of TTS in that's just completely crude or
right. Yep.
Worse, even racist or something crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like, there are definitely filters against it, and I don't expect anyone in our community would do it because it does take
right. But I mean,
points, so you have to be here a while. But
that's true. But
But still, I'm always terrified of the idea, just because there's just not a whole lot of filters on it, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I am just, again, trimming up the bottom part of this sword. If you need to do something like get something, like even out something like this, put your finger behind it, or your thumb, as a support, and then gently work at smoothing out the surface. Since the bones is bendy, even bones black. It'll help keep you from doing damage to really fine, small surfaces like that. See, now we have a nice, sharp sword point. Yeah, it only takes one jerk to ruin thing. All of us at Reaper learned that lesson long ago. Because Reaper definitely has that one strike and you're out kind of thing, right? Something horrible happens and there is a large rule immediately enacted to make sure it never happens again. So, totally there. This is why we can't have nice things, everybody. Alrighty, so we got some nice sharp swords, and, they're, at least the one over here is noticeably above the ground now. I'm going to actually carve away a little bit more. Oops, I'm taking out my blue stuff. Gotta watch out. Not too much seesaw motion here. We're going to make our kitty seasick. There. Gotta get that rest of that chunk carved off. Still have a little bit of grit on the other side of this blade. Trying to take it off. There we go. Excellent. Looking good. Sharp swords. Ready to stab somebody. Stabby, stabby. Could take off more on this side, but well, just a little. There we are. Yay! Yeah, I'm pretty, I'm still in sleepy mode, I think, too, so I'm pretty chill today. Alright, let's get the back part. I figure there are plenty of overdone streamers who run around, you know, screaming and being irate about stuff. I am not that person. Nor have I ever really enjoyed watching that sort of stream. Like, I tend to like to keep it chill, so people who get really irate and uppity, like, it can be entertaining for short periods of time, but then, you know, for a whole stream, it would just, like, be, like, ugh, too much stress, enough, done. Let's see, get my little bits out of the way, there we go. Alrighty, let's see here, gotta finish doing the gold up there, around the fur. Then we can get to work on fur. Uh-oh, I see. I missed a little bit of plastic up here. I was obviously trying to smooth out a surface and didn't totally take off that little thread. There we go. Much better. Sweet. But Kitty's getting, thanks to our base coating and actually blocking in stuff, Kitty's starting to really look like she's going to look when she's done. Gives us an idea where we are. There. And then we know, it makes it a little easier too to see what you have left to do. Uh-oh, got all the little threads of plastic. It's like fur balls. There we go, good. There we are, now let's get these swords and the studs filled in. Yeah, when you have no reason to get up early, Inara, those are the days. Those are the nice days. Let me see. Where is my cloudy gray? I see rainy gray. That's not what I want. I see cloudy gray. Cloudy gray. Best NMM color ever. At least steel NMM. Good start. And then I have to get out my... Where is my ashen blue? That's my next question. Not moonstone. Although you could do moonstone. It's just not as blue. Ashen, there it is. I actually decided I needed to take my bust's eyes more of a muted blue. They're too bright. I'm striving for realism in my current bust project, so I'm going to mix these two guys. So we've got ashen blue and cloudy gray. Ashen blue is just going to give, this is what the color I always used when I needed sky reflection in metals, like if I was doing sky earth. I just really like it as a soft blue sky color. You could go a little more vibrant with it, depending on what your color schemes are, but I do like this as a starting point because it has a bit of gray in it, and it has a bit of green in it, like the sky should. But because it has a bit of gray in it already, it blends really well from the cloudy gray, and then you can transition this to a brighter blue if you want, really easily. So it's a nice transition, or just a good color to add a hint of blue to your steel. Yeah, I always have to go to bed early, Chia. I turn into a pumpkin early. David makes fun of me. He's more of a night owl. Not terribly more. He usually stays up half an hour to an hour after when I go to bed, depending on how, you know, awake he still is. So we're not too incompatible that way. But I tend to be like and get to bed by 11:15 type of person, and wake up around 7:30, 7:15. Had to wake up earlier when Kiri was around. So I actually do get to sleep a little bit more now. It's the incentive to wait till I get another, before I get another puppy, right? I actually get some actual sleep. Alrighty, so here's our mix. Again, we're going 4 to 1, just like Anne tends to go 4 to 1 with things. Tends a lot, but some people do need it. I mean, it really depends too on like your health, right? Your age, your health, even your sex. I mean, your genetics. There's so many factors, right? I mean, my parents always went to bed at a strict like 10:30. Like 10 was late for them, so I probably did somewhat adapt. I went very night owl in college, and actually most people do slide their sleep schedule a little later during that time of their life. There's been a bit of research on that. So like regularly, apparently, most people during the course of their lives do kind of flip-flop back and forth between the tendency to be more of a night owl and the tendency to be more of a daybird or a morning bird. And as you get older, you tend to slide more of a morning bird, but that is not the case yet with me. I mean, other than usually waking up around 7:30, but I haven't begun like feeling like I need to wake up at 6 yet, you know. I hope I never do. Although I guess if I did wake up that early, I could get a lot more done, because I am pretty productive in the morning. Well, I'm not using it as a base, remember, Moonglooms. I'm using it mixed into my cloudy gray. I never use it straight up as an NMM base, ever. I always start with the gray, but I mix a little bit of the blue into the gray. This is something that painters like Sergio Calvo Rubio also say, is like, if you're going to use gray, always mix a little bit of color into it if you're using it in NMM, because all of the time your NMM is going to be reflecting colors from your environment. So whatever you choose, do something. I just tend to like the implied sky reflections, so that's why I go that way. I think I did metallics on a couple of streams, but I had to choose a model for it, Shadow Raven. I was thinking, actually, I have a dwarf model that I was going to do metallics on for you guys. It's just we have to finish a figure before I can throw him into the rotation. He's one of those heavily armored, where is he? There he is. He is a dark dwarf. So we'll do metallics on him once he gets into rotation. He's got a lot of big metallic surfaces, and since he's a dark dwarf, we can go a little darker with the metallics, which means we can use a lot of colors in the shading and everything. I disagree, Chia. I tend to be, especially at cons, which really annoys people. I tend to be very much a morning person. At conventions. I remember one Sunday at Gen Con where I walked in and I was all chipper and happy, and everybody in the booth wanted to kill me. Because Saturday, everybody had been out drinking until the wee hours and having too many Long Island iced teas. And so had I, but I was still bright and chipper because it was morning. So I would say nowadays I'm not as much of that. Although that may change. I'm trying to actually shift my mindset to be more excited about the day when I get out of bed instead of like just kind of dragging like I have been for so many years. And being able to kind of get up and not have to get up to like take the dog out and stuff is kind of a good aid to that. But I do definitely get things done better earlier in the day. My productivity absolutely dives after 4 p.m. 4 p.m. is when I hit my big slump, and then I may have some productivity after supper, depending on what I'm doing. But in general, that's with the start of the beginning of the end of Anne's brain power and energy levels. No, conventions screw up everything, right? I mean, we happily let them because we're having fun, but now let's get these studs. I don't want to forget my studs. Also, I'm trying to figure out, I think there's a buckle. It's hard to see the belt pouch here and what we've got going on. Kind of turning it around to try to see. Sometimes it's hard to see that. So I may just wing it. If you really can't tell what something is on a belt pouch, like if you really can't tell, just make your best guess and go with it. Like, I think I see a buckle here. And also with bones, you never know because it may have lost some detail. So, I think I see a buckle here. But I don't know if I do. And I definitely see kind of a strap there. So, if I can't get that to show clearly, then I'm gonna probably paint it as something else. I'll go touch it up later. So now is the time to get these studs all nice and in. The nice thing about painting the studs dark first is that you can leave a dark rim around the outside of them to make them more crisp. They really stand out. Yeah, I pumpkin far earlier, Zeke. Like, last night we raided on WoW, and I'm just like pretty much to the point where I'm gonna say I'm not gonna raid anymore because they stay up. Even they go till 11, but like 11 is when I should like really be in bed and winding down and getting ready to sleep. So, not gonna blame my spider zombie nightmare on WoW, but you know, just saying WoW. Yeah, Kariniko, right? I've been there. I do tend to like mornings. I tend to look forward to the day. And I like having the energy that I have in the morning. I'm getting some brown liner out now to touch up some of these because I got a bit big on this one. So I'm just going to kind of round off that corner so that the studs show a little bit better. Huh. You are a night owl for sure, Inara. But I mean, morning people are jealous of you guys too, you know. Because most of us, like, really have this huge productivity hit later in the day. And we wish that we could more effectively, you know, use, like, early morning hours and stuff. Like, especially on those nights where I just can't sleep. But sometimes it's the stupid thing is like, you can't sleep, but you also are really tired. And so it's very annoying. So we've got a fold here that kind of interrupts the studs. So we've got a couple studs down here. We've got a stud up there. And then when we go over the hip, we've got more studs over here. Just a few. Just enough to be studded leather. Armor's kind of weird in 5th edition. Like, you've got all these weird things like half plate and breastplate and stuff like that. It makes sense to me visually. When I think about it, I can envision each type of armor that they're talking about. But, you know, for a chick who grew up on 2nd edition, it's like a weird armor thing. I think that's like, it's like 4 or 6 hours. Hint, there's a human a biorhythm thing like that. Where, yeah, you're at your peak. Like, because, you know, you wake up. And then, depending on the type of person you are, you hit your peak at, like, different times of day. So some people do peak in the morning, and some people peak in the afternoon, but it does seem to be allied to the time you wake up. So if you wake up later, you tend to peak later. So I remember reading that. There's an awesome book out there about sleep. All sorts of research and studies about sleep and what happens when you don't get it, and, you know, what kind of biorhythm people have, and... or circadian rhythm, I should say. It's interesting stuff. It's really, really interesting. That's where I learned about the whole, you know, your circadian rhythm actually adjusts as you go through life, like changes. Tends to go later when you're younger, like in adolescence, and tends to go earlier when you're in old age. And it slides. So if you were already a morning person, then you're going to be one of those people waking up at 5 a.m. when you're old. Hypothetically, anyway, according to the research. Sleep schedule totally messed up. Oh, yeah, D. Clearman. Yeah, working from home is hard. It really does make you be hard on yourself. Set your own hours, you know. That's why I actually like the fact that I've got this Reaper stream. For me, it starts at 9:30, which is about perfect. Gives me time to get up and shower and do my hair and make breakfast and all the rest of it. It keeps me honest. It keeps me on a schedule. Which is the hardest thing. It's actually why I like keeping a part-time job while I am freelance, because it does keep you on a schedule. Half-plate has been around since second, but it was a weird creature, Valandar, and wasn't it in one of the accessory books, like Arms and Armor? That's the Martian days. You're pretty sure you're a Martian. Well, Panthera, welcome. Welcome to Earth. Yeah, I wonder what'll happen when we move off planet. I was just telling David that we better get our butts in gear trying to colonize the moon, because we are certainly exceeding our population limits. Like, our poor Earth. Like, I still want there to be wild places, right? It's like, he's like, well, we have plenty of room. And I'm like, yeah, but we won't have plenty of room forever. And it's not like we can just flip a switch and move to the moon. So we'd better get on top of, like, off-Earth colonization faster than we think we need it. Oh, I see. I think there's a little strappy thing at the bottom of that. I think I'm going to grab that. Yeah, I think they were just generalizing based on, like, historical armor chia. They were trying not to make it too complicated. I mean, if you get historically accurate, then yeah, you've got to, you know, you've got to factor in all these things, but... Alright, I can't see any knobbles over there, so I think I've got all my studs brought in. She looks like, wow, she looks like close to done, doesn't she? Even though she's not at all close to done. It's funny what a difference it makes to have everything coated. Yeah. And I guess, you know, when they talk about full plate in D&D, they're just, like, assuming that, right? They're just like, full plate is full plate. Whatever you have to have on under it to make it work, we assume you have on. But D&D was never about, like, extreme realism, right? It was about adventuring. So, adventuring and killing monsters. So the less time they spent on realism, the more time they could spend on, you know, monsters. As every game, there's a little bit of a trade-off with that, right? And your developer, your designer decides what level of realism they want in the game. Alright, now I'm just touching up around these little areas on the sword where I know there's going to be some pieces overlaid on top of each other, like this little pommel on the end of the sword, pommel thing. And this is a separate piece. So lining around stuff just to make sure that I've got a nice demarcation. Everything stands out. Make sure I didn't miss any of my any bits that I needed to get base coated down here, or if I need a more solid coat. Oh, I just remembered something that I wanted to bring up. 1 second while I get this. There we go. Well, technically, wouldn't you call samurai armor banded mail, though, Valandar? Like, because it is overlapping plates or bands of lacquered, what is it made of? I can never remember. But you know what I mean, right? So it's not like there wasn't something design-wise kind of like that in history. I know that originally it was based on total horrible misinterpretations, but technically, design-wise, it's not, like, that weird. See, leather armor makes sense to me for characters like rogues that need freedom of movement. I mean, they are right that, you know, when you wear a certain level of heavy metal armor, it's going to encumber you. So if you wanted any protection at all, it makes sense. VCR, I used my brown liner today. So, Master Series, the actual liners. This kitty has a lot of earth tones on her and a lot of browns, so that's why I'm going with brown liner, although I do use it a lot just for everything. Hey, Estrogen, thank you for the resub. Thanks. Yeah, I like I made the liner paints. The base is thinner, VCR, so it's a little more fluid, I should say, not thinner. So it tends to flow in nice thin lines a little bit easier. So yeah, if I'm gonna line, I mean, sometimes it goes back and forth. Like everybody will tell you, sometimes I'm on a walnut kick and I'll just use walnut brown and thin it down a lot. But I have to thin the liner a lot less to get it to the point where I need it to make thin lines. So this time we're using brown liner. Yeah, I mean, there's so many like isolated bits of armor, weird little historical remnants, right? That then get taken up by some fantasy author or D&D and turned into a thing. And, yeah, well, why not? Yeah, for sure. Folded paper. It was effective if it wasn't raining. That's hilarious, Chibi. Chibi with a historic funny fact. And I bet it was pretty, too. Because, you know, all the Japanese armor, aesthetics. I bet it was super pretty paper armor. I want origami. Magical origami armor. Needs to be a thing now. Magical origami crane armor. Or tiger armor. Or whatever armor. That needs to be a thing. Some things are too obscure even for D&D. Alright, there we go. I think we have got a nice solid coat on things now. Yay! Alright. Let's do kitty fur. And also her eyes are bothering me, so I think we'll do it. Well, it's D&D. It's D&D, Chia. So those old D&D traditionalists. And George R. R. Martin totally disagrees with them, obviously, since he wanted, like, biologically feasible dragons. And he's like, 4 legs and wings doesn't exist. Hey, Kariniko, 19 months. That's crazy talk. All right, here. Let me see here. I need blue, because we made her eyes blue. And I can't remember what blues I used. But I probably should. I think I was doing cyan because I needed something saturated. And I needed Kraken ink, maybe. Oh, there's my Kraken ink. It's hiding in the upper corner. I can tell because it drooled on its cap, so it's easy to spot. So I still want like magical origami armor. Just sounds so cool. I'm all about the cool factor. Screw the historical factor. Give me awesome magical paper armor. Now I want to write a story about that. Let's see here. Let's get our Kraken ink with a little bit of white in it, which I believe is what I used to make this pretty purple here. And let's work with our accent colors a little, see if we can't get those eyes and that dagger and maybe that armband to work a little bit. Figure out what we're doing. Yeah, when I'm doing a vivid blue on small surfaces, I almost always choose cyan because it is the, it's a nice bright but high coverage blue. And my bottle just scooged out a huge amount of it, so now I'm wasting some of it. Oh well. I'll make a couple of different wells of it, because I'll add white. So I will use all of the cyan blue. Yeah, that's been happening. Nomad Zeke. There are a lot of things I get shipping notices for after they arrive. Oh, hey, people on my, Amy and others who have been flashing their Muses Kickstarter models around on my Discord. I got mine finally, Friday. Super excited. For those who don't know, the Muses Kickstarter is based on women in classical artworks. And so being a 2D art nerd, I was all about it. So I'm super excited. I am definitely going to fantasy a lot of these out and totally go against the classical artwork nature of the piece. So I'm super excited. Hello, Great Scott Minis. Oh, is he going to do Joan? Was that the vote for the next one? I remember I voted, and I voted for a different one than actually got the vote, but it happens. I do love Joan of Arc, so if the piece turns out nicely, I'll be tempted. All right, so I'm going to fill in my eyes a little bit more there. I'm going to mix up my Kraken ink because I want to put mix it with blue and make a bluish highlight up here so that I can kind of tie in a bit of that accent color. Hey, Psycho Nomad, thank you for the Prime sub. 6 months. Your half sub-anniversary. Grats. Yeah, well, first I have to fight my way through my current project, which is my Templar bust, my female elven Templar bust. There we go. There's my purple. It's such a pretty purple, too. When you add pure white to Kraken ink, it just gives you this gorgeous... Here, let me get my black base. My giant black base of doom that helps us see colors better on the super white palette. Oh, unless my black base of doom wants to stick. There it is. There, that's the pretty purple. So pretty. That's like 4 drops of Kraken ink and 1 drop of pure white. And it's the color on her dagger handle. Oh, 9 months for the resub there, Malcolm. Thank you. 14 swatches. Nice, Valandar. Yeah, I find that that's a good, yeah, square with a black box in the center. Yep. That's a good way to have kind of your collection together. Takes a while to swatch it all out, but if you want an... Oop, I just took Justin out of my ear forcibly. If you want to get a good gut knowledge of how transparent or opaque the various colors are that you use regularly, it's a good exercise. Nomad Zeke on the 17-monther. We have a lot of good resubs today. We're working toward our next AMA already, so... Although Justin had some ideas about how to do that next time and not do a subtotal, like just an overt subtotal. He wanted to kind of keep track of our overall subtotal and make a goal that way. So, I don't know. He's doing some weird stuff. It's Justin. We'll humor him, right, guys? So I put a slightly lighter blue in the eyes. I do want to bring the eyes up a bit. You can count on me. I got your back. We're going to mix this purple with our lighter blue to make a super pretty indigo and do some like suggestion of chords on the handle of this dagger. And that's too bright, so I'm going to take my Kraken ink mix and take that down a bit. Let's see here. Come on, Justin. You work at Reaper. Everybody who works at Reaper is just a little bit weird. Some of them are a lot of bit weird.
That's also true.
But as somebody who prefers, who believes that weird is the synonym for unique, I never was against being a little weird. So, all right. So bringing some of that blue into that dagger handle, it's showing up really well on camera. It actually is much more subtle in person. Yeah, weird is a compliment from my book. It has been since I was in high school. I figured if people were going to call me that already, I may as well take it as a compliment. So now I'm going to take a brighter blue, and I'm going to get a little bit of the upper edge of this. To bring it in a little bit more. This one went a little bit weird on me, so I'm going to grab some purple and trim it up on the bottom. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't sold on just the blue in the eyes. I wanted it elsewhere too, Strato, so That's why I'm figuring out where else to work it in. I'll probably work a bit of the blue into the swords if I do like reflections and such. That may be my other place that I can kind of work it in a subtle way. Because otherwise there's not a lot of extra little tidbits or places to put the blue accent on here. Normally the pommels, or sorry, the hilts of the swords would be, but her furry paws are big enough to cover the entire bit, so there's really not a lot of extra room there for that. Speaking of which, it might be fur time. I just wanted to get that blue accent in and kind of see how it carried. It's not bad, so we'll pause there probably. Maybe I'll do one more highlight on the blue. Don't want to waste all my blue. Grab a little bit more of my main blue. Transfer over. This is how I regularly build highlights, is I just grab a little bit of my previous blue, put it in a new well, mix in new color, but I'll do more white this time to take it really light. And in this way I will build my own triad, which I prefer. That way you can make a triad out of anything. Yep, I always liked Austin's motto. I mean, considering you live in such a non-weird state in many ways, although Texans are weirder than people give them credit for. Having lived there for 17 years, I can state this with positive assertion. Once again, gonna lighten up her eyes a little bit. That way when we put her pupils in, they'll show up a bit better. I started a lot darker and more vibrant, but I decided I wanted her eyes to get quite light. So if I want to keep my colors looking correctly, I may need to highlight this little bit on the hilt just a little bit more again, to bring things up, keep it aligned. Yeah, I know. I still, so the thing is, I still haven't experienced California properly. I'm sitting here. I've almost been here for a year. I'll have been here for a year, in the beginning of April. And we haven't, like, I actually saw more of California before I moved here because of COVID, because I moved right at the beginning of all the COVID crazy. Just so funny. So I haven't formed an opinion of California yet. Like, everybody's weird in their own way. I try not to assign a right and wrong to it these days. Everybody is weird for a reason, I guess, is the thing to remember. Even the people who have, like, what seem to you like odd belief systems. So I blacked out a little bit. I killed a little bit of her eyelid there, so I'm going to have to re-correct. And the other eye got a little bit too dark. So that's why I'd be careful and do touch-ups. But I try to remember that even people who don't agree with me, there's a reason they're weird, right? In a different way than me. I think empathy is the first step. Of course, you know, then a lot of people just won't reciprocate empathy is the problem, but you do what you can. You can't change people. You can't ever change people. You can only control how you react to them. I did not realize, for a very long time, I did not realize that you could not change people. I thought that, you know, you could, but they need to change themselves. It's not your job. Ah. Yeah, that's kind of the Texan motto, Crowley. I disagree, Deborah. If you look at kind of the way the demographics have been shifting, Texas is going a lot more blue in recent days. But that, I mean, that political leaning doesn't mean a lot. What is more telling to me is just that, I don't know, in North Texas at least, like, I did not like, when I moved, I expected the worst of Texas because I had been brought up like thinking of Texas as like this really, really close-minded, you know, kind of not really nice state, and it totally changed my mind. So I think that it's easy to buy into that outward view of Texas, but that's not the truth of Texas, having lived there for so long. And having friends from different parts of the state, both conservative and more liberal friends, and just from all around the spectrum of ages and everything. I mean, Texas is a really idiosyncratic state. It really is very unique. It's very much itself. But I don't feel that secession thing. I don't feel it. Now, given I haven't been there for 9 months, maybe it's changed. But I expected it. I wasn't sure I even wanted to move at first when Reaper offered me the job. I wasn't sure because, like I said, the national like idea of what Texas is, right? But I was wrong about that, and I did enjoy my time in Texas. There was a lot I really liked about Texas, so. Oh, did it? What was first? What was first, Chibi, on that poll? Using some creamy ivory, mixing up some mixes for the fur. It's true about Austin's motto. That's funny, Trusted Oma. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the mentality is there, right? But it's not a majority of Texas. It doesn't, like, define Texas like people feel like it does, right? I think that people get attracted to the extremes and the extremes of ideas, and that becomes kind of an identity. But I don't feel that is the identity. Yeah, lots of people have lived here longer than I have in here. Oh, that's right. I remember. The one I always forget. I don't know why so many people voted for that one. Oh well, what can you do? We'll see. If I don't like the sculpts, I won't go in on the Kickstarter. That's it, pretty much it. So I lost my eyelid over here, so I need to re-get my eyelid on the one side. So I've mixed up a little bit of rich leather and creamy ivory, which is a little bit different than the color I originally used. So I probably actually need to pop some bleached linen in there. It needs to get a little bit lighter. I'm just kind of throwing colors together at this point. I do have my original fur colors written down. Yeah, well, it's cool. I think, though, that so many people at this point have moved to Texas from other areas of the country, especially to places like Austin, which is now a tech hub, and, you know, to the DFW area and even to Houston. I think that's shifting some Texan identity, just as those people settle and raise kids in the state. It's interesting to me how states can shift depending on if they're an attractive state to move to, and how many people come from other areas of the country, and which kind of you know, like what they bring. All right, so we're getting that other eyebrow mapped back in. It needs to be a little bit lighter. So I'm going to get my... Yeah, I never like exclusionary tactics, like the whole... I don't like... The whole "we'll secede from you" thing reminds me of a kid of the pail and shovel. I'm going to take my pail and shovel and go home. You know, it's like that. It's like, it's much harder to actually work with people than it is to just throw everything up in the air and leave, right? And that isn't to say that sometimes throwing things up in the air and leaving isn't the best thing for your mental health in some situations. Especially if you're in like a toxic job or a toxic relationship, or, you know, have friends that like aren't supporting you in your new direction in life and things like that. You know, but still, it's, when it's governments that are talking like that, I'm like, come on, we're not 6-year-olds. But it does appeal to some people, that kind of thing, that kind of clean break thinking, or the becoming more independent thinking. Yeah, there's always going to be people grumbling about leaving. Right, exactly, Shadow Raven. Yeah, on the nose, Shadow Raven. Gold star. People like to grumble when people don't do all the things they like to do. David and I were talking about presidents the other day like this. Like, I understand, like, even with presidents that I really liked, like, there are things I disagree that they did. But in general, I always try to keep a broader view. Because you never know what people go through in that job. And I just don't have all the information. Like, I can form an opinion on the stuff in the Middle East, but do I really have an understanding of what's going on? No. No, I don't. So I try to always remember that I do not have all the information about some of the things that I like to have opinions on. And it's good to have an opinion. But still. So I need to, like, get some fur up here. Go somewhere else. Yeah, GB Amy, exactly. Yeah, that's what actually David taught and graduated from the University of Chicago, and he got their magazine. One came last year at the end of the year, and actually that was exactly the idea that they were pushing in their main article for that month, Chibi. Was that, you know, we need to figure out what we do agree on and kind of shove aside the stuff that we don't all agree on. I really feel that right now in the chambers of government. I feel like the Senate and the House need to kind of go forward with that mentality. I don't know if it's going to be successful. But I think there are certain things that everybody can agree on right now, and I hope that there's a lot less ridiculosity. How about that? I want people to work together. I think everybody is kind of sick and tired of people not working together. So there, I just put a little bit of shadow in to break up her fur into little clumps. I don't know, Crowley. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess it really depends. I don't know. I look forward. We live in interesting times, right? I try never to assume that somebody can't change. There's a large difference between being, like, in absolute power of something and having to, like, work with people to get stuff done, I think.
Sam.
Yeah.
I don't want to disrupt you, but no political talk.
Oh, right. Yep. So, remember, Chibi, no political talk.
Thank you, Quindy.
Or Crowley, sorry.
Not that I don't love listening to you talk about everything, because I do.
Well, you know, it's more like talking about, like, how the world could get better. I do agree that we can all, like, listen a little more and talk a little less. Including me. And this reminds me of what I wanted to bring up earlier, but didn't have time. I'm just going to highlight around her, or shade around her ears again, and bring these dark edges in a little, guys, so that we can get some definite, like, see that dark edge, and it just really brings out her ear. Otherwise her ear was kind of blending into her face, and I'm going to bring in some light for underneath here. But I wanted to bring up, actually, Rhonda's post that she just made on her Patreon. So if you're not following Rhonda, Bird with a Brush, she has a free blog, but she also has a Patreon to kind of support all the work that she puts into that blog. And her latest post is very interesting because it is it's like the first things she suggests when you start in the hobby, and it has nothing to do with painting. And what it has to do with is figuring out what your goal is as a painter. Why are you here? Why do you like miniature painting? I'm supposed to talk a lot. Yes, I am. And I think that's a very key idea. And I think that is excellent of Rhonda for bringing that to the forefront. A lot of people just start painting and they get told that they should do this or that or the other thing, or you should paint faster, or you should paint, you know, better, or you should, you know, focus on this or that or the other thing. But in reality, the first thing you should focus on is, so why do I love this hobby and how can I love it more? And follow that, and not follow what the natural progression, you know. Because if you really love just the fact that you can sit down and get a miniature done, and you feel like you can't do that with anything else in your life, then you shouldn't listen to everybody telling you, oh, you should slow down and spend more time on every mini, right? If your reward is that it's one thing that you can, like, you know, complete and see progress on and do things like that, then you should work with that. Like, that should be your thing. And you shouldn't listen to everybody else telling you how you should develop your painting talent. Right, exactly. So in that case, if you look at it, if you go to it as a refuge, then Strato, then you should, as you are learning things, because everybody does like to improve their painting and, you know, does like to learn new techniques and stuff. But as you do that, you should do it in a way that lets you retain your relaxation. So avoid like pressure situations with your painting, for example, like probably never take a commission, stuff like that. So here I am, guys, using shading to kind of pick out the clumps of fur that are sculpted here, but that kind of got run over when I was putting the breaking up her various areas of her face. So I'm just going to suggest some sections of fur and go in that. Yeah, David is taught all over the world. He actually, he graduated and he TA'd at Chicago, but then he also taught in New Zealand, and, you know, some other places as well. So he's been all over. It's kind of funny because, you know, I'm from Wisconsin originally, and so is his mom. So he also taught at University of Wisconsin-Madison, which is where I went to school. We do have some things in common. So then I'm going to bring in some highlights and bring this in. But yeah, so kind of like look at your hobby every once in a while and assess like if your painting is still like doing what you need it to do. If you still can find the joy in painting. And if you've lost the joy in painting, then ask yourself what changed, right? Like, what is really bringing you down where you feel like, you know, and I know that, you know, like one good strategy, for example, if you really like to finish things, but as you have gotten more and more into painting, you get slower and slower, which happens to us all, by the way. Learning new techniques will slow you down. But then one thing you can do is something that David does, which is every once in a while, grab some of your Gloomhaven minis or your Zombicide minis or something from a board game and just put a nice, clean, simple paint job on them. And get a bunch of them done, and then you feel awesome. You know, and chances are, if you're getting better, you know, you're much better at a simple, fast paint job than you used to be. So you can also just feel rewarded there just because you've gotten a little bit better at even just putting a nice, easy paint job on something. So once again, using the fur patterns that are sculpted in the ears, we're going to bring out some of that with some highlights. Yeah, awesome, Strato. Yeah, Rhonda totally is worth subscribing to. She's a great person. She's the person who wrote our Learn to Paint kits, so she is totally an awesome teacher, and I totally support her. I also subscribe to her Patreon. I think she has a refreshing way of thinking about things sometimes, so I really enjoy it. And she breaks down stuff very well. Yeah, there's nothing that can be done about that, though, so Nomad Zeke. I mean, so in that case, it's just what you focus on then is the fact that when we can tabletop game again, I'm going to have so many awesome painted minis. Got to flip it on its head. You got to get a positive in there. Because, yeah, it's easy to be sad because, you know, I don't have anybody to play Warhammer with right now, or I don't have anybody to play Gloomhaven with right now, you know, and stuff like that. But at least you have this time where you can relax and get the models painted. Whereas in our normal lives, you know, maybe we wouldn't. Maybe we'd be like having to rush trying to get models painted and feeling bad that we didn't have them painted. And instead, we can relax a bit and have the time. I think people sometimes forget, I've noticed this trend lately, that, you know, there's a lot of sad around things like that, and we've lost sight of the fact that we used to have well in hand at the beginning of the pandemic, which is, wow, I have all this extra time. So just refocus, everybody. Refocus on the fact that you're going to have so many awesome minis painted because you've had this time. By the time you can game again, like more models than you ever thought. Like now is the time to work on that new Warhammer army. Now is the time to work on that, you know, new War Machine Warband or Infinity Warband or your board games that you have wanted to get painted for forever and never had the time to do. Now is the time. Yeah, right, VCR, exactly. It's given you time to do all that stuff, right? Never underestimate the power of having time. Even if you don't currently have the thing. And I do know where you're coming from, Zeke, is because, you know, I feel like if I'm not playing the game, I notice that my urge to paint the models for the game dives. So I do get you on that. So if I'm playing, then I'm like much more motivated to paint the models for a game. And we'll get a little bit more white around the nose. I do want to get her nose pink, more pink. But I'm going to concentrate on the fur because I've got these colors mixed up right now. So we've got these, the fur on her thighs is pretty good. We've got some nice, I've been hitting the little pieces of fur with little highlights. So that's brings out that fur very nicely. And it's also the same on this side. I'm going to bring in a little bit more of a higher highlight. You tend to paint best with a deadline barreling at you. I don't. Like, it makes me get things done to have a deadline, but I have realized that I actually do not paint at my best. I'm good under pressure, but when I really am honest with myself, I'm better if I have time to think about and ruminate on the model. Same thing with my writing. Like, I can produce under pressure very well if I have to, but when I have time and I take my time, I can do better. Like, I learn the most and benefit the most from trying new techniques when I relax and take time. Everybody's different. There we go. Fuzzy thighs. Yeah, Agent Marvel, that's a good trick too, and that's a good point, is that, yeah, batch painting to a lot of people is just kind of, you know, tends to be the yawn, right? So if you can switch it in your head, even if it means, pardon me while I mix up some, I need some russet brown in this. If you can switch it around in your head a bit and refocus on it and just paint one at a time, even if it might not, quote-unquote, make sense. Oh, where did I put my russet brown? Oh, there it is. It's hiding right in front of me. I'm going to put a little bit of that into this. But yeah, I'm the same way. I've actually started pruning down my desk and reducing the number of projects that I can see on it, because it makes a big difference for me to not feel overwhelmed by it. Alright, so we got this pretty caramel color again, and we've got our white, and we've got our dark brown. Here's our kitty colors. Kitty colors. Over here. So that's a beautiful little kind of caramel or coffee color, pale coffee color, and then we've got our, this is kind of a mix of rich leather and russet. I'm gonna pop a little bit of light in it because I want it to go better with everything else, and if I make it a little closer by adding a little bit of this in here, it will go better with everything else. It'll still be dark enough for me to use for shading. There's that color. There. Yeah, there's all sorts. These are all great, great techniques, actually. Great ways to think about your painting and keep enthused. Alrighty, gonna bring in some of our dark color up here on the shoulder. I want to bring in a little bit on the back of the arm and define some of the muscle masses here. And this is pretty well defined here. Need a little bit more dark here. Have a shoulder pad on this side, so I don't need to worry as much. Gonna take a little bit of my coffee color and blend in this area. I can always bring my highlights back in to bring the fur up again, just like I did down here. This side's looking okay. Let's see here. I think I want to add a little bit of dark under her chin. So there's a little bit of shadow there that should be in place. There we go. All right, so that's good. I want to get her feet back dark because yeah, she got a little bit of damage, I think side damage from me cutting these swords loose. And I want to take my brown liner and make sure that the toes are separated and that the feet stand out so that I could highlight them. It'd be easy. I mean, all she'd have to do is like mix these with more of a creamy color. It's just mix a cream color into a coffee color and you get the various types of coffee. It's would not be too hard. The coffee triad. I think I need a little bit more brown liner. I thinned it a bit. I find that is often the case in our when I'm working earlier in, but once I've got a model down, I usually can figure out like a set of like 3 or 4 colors. Like I feel like I've got on my plate right now the palette I need for the fur on this baby. Oh no, no magic. No. I did not paint the base, and I'm now realizing this, and realizing that I should probably remedy that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my gray, and I'm going to actually kind of organically mix it with a bit of my browns, like mostly my brown liner, and my cream, since these are stones that she's standing on. So I'm going to put down a big layer of it. Then I'm going to grab some of my brown liner, and I'll mix in a little bit of cream to kind of offset some of the blue in the stone. Just want to, again, I'm looking now, I just want to cover this base. So I'm not painting on the plastic anymore around the feet. I want to be able to trim up the feet and put some shadows down. So I'm using some brown liner and just kind of doing some mixes. Once I have my gray, which is quite thick, which serves as a pretty good base coat on top of these bones, I can, as you can see, I can start breaking it up, adding the brown in. Adding the brown liner in as shading will take down the blue in this gray and make it more organic. Gonna have some edges to clean up probably, but I tend to paint my edges black anyway, so no biggie there. So real quick wet blending here, just to kind of lock in a color. It won't be the final color, not even close, but it'll give me something to start with, like I said, so I can start putting a shadow under the body. I can start putting shadows around the paws. And it's different enough from those. See how the brown liner completely knocked the blue out of those, the color that's in the swords. Twisted Oma, it's Kraken ink for the shadows. That's why you're seeing purple. And then it's Ancient Oak. And then adding more like Naga green. That's where you're getting the yellow. So it ends up looking kind of like almost some like bug carapace armor. Like fantasy elvish bug carapace armor. Who knows? Nope, it is purple to yellow. Well, technically not all the way to yellow, but to a yellowish green, and the shadows are purple. So. Oh, I like having a black base. But not because it makes it feel more tabletop to Michia. I like having a black base because it feels like a picture frame to me. It's the frame of the model. So even with my competition style minis in the old days, I would have a black base. Now I'm doing like more of the plinth type thing, but So I'm going to put some heavy shadow around the toes. So I'm going to trim it back just a little, but I want that shadow. Mess around a little bit until I get something I like. Blend it in. I want the feet to be kind of outlined and stand out. But yeah, for me, it's always like, since I come from a 2D art background, it's always like the plinth or the base is the frame of the quote-unquote picture that is the miniature for me. So I like it to be dark because I tend to like simple black or dark brown frames on my artwork. Don't like anything really gaudy. Again, more wet blending just to make some irregularities. Some of these artifacts I will keep. Yep, exactly, Twistedoma. It ended up looking like that because I went from, because you're going up through that complementary color kind of range and you're integrating greens and purples, you almost always get that kind of bug insectoid kind of thing. So now I'm integrating some of this patterning that my wet blending has brought out, and I'm choosing what I like and don't like to keep or wipe out or integrate in these stones to make them more interesting. Because gray stones can be very boring. We'll probably throw yet more colors into them at some point, but right now, taking the dark parts around her feet, which is natural shadow, and bringing those darker colors into the rest of the base. Oh wow, I didn't realize they were giving away stuff. Nobody told me, Chia. Which one should they give away? Oh, do you mean the giveaway from the AMA? It's actually not painted by me. Those are actually just the mini. I haven't painted the rock at all. I probably confused people because I said the Sphinx like the one I'm painting, but I meant the model that I was painting. Sorry if that like totally like crushed your excitement, Chia. Yeah. It would surprise me if Reaper gave away my painted figures. And if it was a rock, like, do you know how much how much time that would take me to paint? Yes, I'm sorry. It's the models. You get the models for free. Not painted. Sorry. My bad. My confusion. I caused that confusion. I will take responsibility for the sad. You still get to love those two minis. Well, and to be fair, you now have a Sphinx paint-along because, you know, she's almost done and all the videos are up online. My stuff is really rare to find, actually, Chia, as far as my painted stuff. I do occasionally sell minis on my Patreon. And actually, I've been kind of berating myself because I've been meaning to put one up since before Christmas, and I still hadn't gotten around to it. But yeah, I don't have a lot of... Most of my finished pieces are going to be like in the Reaper gallery, and Reaper wants to keep those, of course. And then back in the old days, I used to sell everything I did, but these days, when I'm painting and finishing things, it's either for the Reaper show, in which case a lot of times some of that stuff's going to go to Reaper, or I'm going to keep it. On occasion, it might get sold. Confirm the rock takes forever to paint. Yes. Good, VCR, yeah. Yeah, hopefully, I mean, I don't think I used any really hard techniques on her. The Sphinx is fairly, I mean, if you just take it as a step-by-step and you take your time, the hardest part is probably doing that, the little tiny details on the jewelry, like just blocking it, doing that, the underpainting thing I do. And that's not necessarily hard, but it takes brush control. Yes, you should totally come to a ReaperCon. ReaperCon is awesome. ReaperCon is super fun and a chance for us all to hang out and geek out. I am very much hoping that the coronavirus is controlled enough that we can have a real in-person ReaperCon this year. That is my goal. Since it's way, way at the end of August, beginning of September, I have hope. Don't know. Don't know if we'll get one, but hope so. Alrighty, so now you can see I have brought in that shadow and light and kind of made an irregular pattern on these stones, which makes them more interesting than just having them be flat. And then what I'll do is, as I build up highlights, I will accentuate these differences even more. Yeah, it's just, I'm hoping at that point we can all, like, feel safe and enjoy our con. That's my sincere wish for the fall for this coming year. For this year, I guess. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my brown liner and kind of line where the stones come into each other. See? Put my cracks in there. So get some shadows going on here. There we are. Alrighty, so then I got some nice shading around the paw on this side. I still need to see how the paw just kind of runs into the stone on this side. We still need to do it. Good, Gia. That would be great. It'd be great to meet you. Yeah, Texas knows how to do food, guys. Food and shopping. There are definitely some restaurants that I miss. Although now I have great Indian food, so I guess I've kind of traded off in that direction. Can't complain because I really like Indian food. Although I've yet to try the Thai place here. Okay, that's being good. This is pretty good. We're looking a little bit more interesting. We have all of our, now we have everything covered, even the base. What's really funny, Nomad Zeke, is that we have a like Texas barbecue place just down the street here in California. Which I knew must be a thing, right? It's like, because Texas barbecue is such a unique thing that surely there will be Texans who moved to California who would want to set up an actual Texas barbecue place, and lo and behold, this is a thing. So I can still get, and it's not like, you know, like super awesome, but it's decent. If I really want barbecue, I do feel like I can get it there. If I don't want to make ribs myself. And I don't have a smoker or anything, so my ribs are kind of like would not be considered traditional in Texas. I'm just going to add a little bit of a dark look to the bottom. Now, you guys know I've mounted a lot of my miniatures on black bases, and I may do that with this one, although she has such a wide stance that she probably wouldn't fit on a normal small base. Her base is too wide, so I'd have to see if I could find a base that would fit her. And if I did, I would... Yeah, your pun was too subtle. Steer wrong. Yeah, meh. Pun damage. What is with you, Nomad Zeke? Like, usually it's Valandar that I have to reprimand for pun damage. We don't need to take pun damage this early. See, that's the thing, is I'm not used to the punning from you, so I didn't notice the steer. There we are. All right, so yeah. So essentially, if I glue this down, I'd take some green stuff and I would add more rocks going out to the edge of the new base, essentially extending them. If I assuming and if there was a base that like was close to big enough, I might consider shaving off some of this outer part. You could even cut off this side edge right up next to the paw if you wanted to, which would leave the sword hanging, which might work. I don't know. I'd have to look and see what base would be best on this one. Oh, okay. Then I'm just slow today. I don't know. The barbecue place on Castro, where we are, is like a traditional Texas barbecue, and it's not sweet. And that said, there was plenty of sweeter barbecue sauce when I was in Texas. So even though traditional Texas barbecue is more vinegary sauce. You still have that honey mesquite tradition. Although that may be more Tennessean. I don't know. I haven't really experienced like Tennessee and southern eastern barbecue. Bye, Chia. Have fun. Bye, Raven. Yeah, we're about ready. I started on time, so I guess, well, we got to a little bit of the fur. We didn't get to as much of the fur. I will do a bit of shading and lining back here while Justin looks for a raid for us. So I'm going to shade here in the palm. Get that thumb out there. Make sure the fingers stand out. Since these paws are so little, we have to bring out the details. But mostly, there we go. We got that a little bit. That's better. Now you're craving barbecue. I'm sorry, VCR. Yeah, I thought about buying some ribs. I need to go to the store after this, the grocery store, so maybe I'll give in and buy some ribs.
I would not complain.
David is in favor of this. Though they do take a long time, so we'd have to wait until the weekend to cook them. Luca and Epic Duck are both on, Scrying Eye says. What's up, Justin? Did you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
I'm
you're looking
Sorry.
for raids. No problem. I have to check because sometimes you do get interrupted by people.
That is true. Yeah, let's go ahead and just raid Luca miniature stand. Luca, but miniature stand.
All right, that sounds lovely. Here, let me wrap up what we did today. Okay, guys, so what we did today is we got the rest of the model base coated. We blocked in colors on the swords, and we talked a bit about introducing other colors into your NMM. We repeated our accent color by taking it down to the dagger here. We touched up some of our fur and fur on the face and on the ears. And we blocked in the base and put in some shading around the paws so that we could work on those next time. So she is coming right along, I think, and tomorrow is Statue Day. Tomorrow's Statue Day. So I hope you all have a great day, and we shall see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. Or I guess early for me, late for the rest of you. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you later. Say hi to Luca for us.
Thank you guys very much. Don't forget to catch us this afternoon for Miniature Monday at 3 p.m. Central. Have a great rest of y'all's day and keep being awesome.